I wrote this script a long time ago, so please forgive me. Great Discovery is a 2008 film produced by Simon Spencer, directed by Steve Asquith and Sharon Miller. The film was released 2 years after Calling All Engines and started the yearly tradition of yearly Thomas specials. Once again, couldn't find the budget, but it made $188,000 at the box office. Once again, this movie is considered bad for some weird reason. I mean, at the time of writing this, it was. I don't know. Apparently, people like it now because the big tug man said it was cool, so now it's cool.
Okay, boomer.
Unfortunately, I did get some opinions for this. But one of the people who I got an opinion for the film got cancelled on Twitter.com. You may know him. He's a little person called Turtles and Thomas, and he may have been a little bit of a narcissistic asshole and a little bit homophobic. But you know, that's just life. But Annie C, who's a good human being, says she loves it. She says it's one of her favorite Thomas movies. Ted does not care for it much. He's more of a Railway series guy. What a fucking nerd. Multi, I didn't get an answer for his. But last time Annie checked, he likes it too. So, that's good, I guess. The film has a slight resemblance to Calling All Engines, with the fact that it isn't Tatmar. This was the last film on Thomas products overall to be completely model-based for later. What the fuck? This sentence doesn't make sense. This was the last film on Thomas product overall to be completely model-based for later. That year, Season 12 introduced CGI faces, but still with model bodies. And in 2009, Here Are the Rails introduced a fully CGI Thomas and Friends. It still had that weird high-quality camera that Hit was known for that made the engines look rather plastic than the superior die-cast look from Season 3 to 5. Anyway, let's dive into the sort of cinematic masterpiece known as The Great Discovery. Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Welcome to Sordor, Stanley.
The movie stars the last one did, and...
Thomas and Friends, making tracks to great destinations.
Wait, who's the narrator? That's not Angelus. Let me check the IMDb page. The Great Discovery. Scroll down to cast. What the fuck? Pierce Brosnan! Pierce motherfucking Brosnan narrates this film! This Thomas film! How? Sorry, sorry. I don't know why I overreacted. I mean, they got fucking Ringo Starr for... I mean, they literally got Ringo Starr for... the first and second season. I don't know why I'm just, you know. The movie once again shows the windmill with the theme of the show. It's basically the exact same as the last, besides that it has the soothing voice of Pierce Brosnan. Like, listen to this.
The island also has lots and lots of railway lines.
Apparently, he describes it as the way he read nursery stories to his children, and bedtime stories, which I find very interesting.
I've spent many years narrating these stories to my own children, and I have 5 children. So I'm fairly versed in the character of Thomas. But telling bedtime stories and then actually performing it in a studio are 2 different techniques, really.
He mentions that Sodor Day is coming, which, because of this, I learned that Turtles and Thomas didn't make up for Sudrian conflict. And it shows how everyone is well excited. James and Thomas race around the island in a musical number and shoes. Of course, Thomas wins, because he's Thomas and he's the main character. He works with Duncan and...
Mr. Percival says that because you mainline engines don't know the tracks in the hills.
Duncan tells him of a shortcut over the bridge, but the bridge is very insecure. Thomas, after nearly dying, heads down onto the track and finds the town of Great Waterton, which apparently is a lost town of Sodor, according to the Fat Bueno.
Thomas, you have made a wonderful discovery.
So close, yet so far. Fat Bueno says it must be done by Sodor Day in a musical number and shoes. Thomas is given the role of being in charge of the construction work, but an engine from the mainland is brought to do Thomas's jobs while he's at Great Waterton. This sounds familiar.
My name is Ryan.
That engine is Stanley, not that one, the silver one, and everyone likes him, but Thomas doesn't like that. He keeps seeing Stanley taking his place at everything.
Stanley blew a high sound from his whistle. Then Gordon blew a low sound. And Emily trembled a sound no one had ever heard before.
I think that's Gordon's whistle. The thing that's really weird to me is that in these parts someone is replaced at Timoth. Is that Edward or any of the other engines just doesn't go forward and say, hey, I want to sleep in my berth or something? Because it feels like they're always so oblivious, right? Because Edward, he's meant to be the smart one, the wise one. Why wouldn't he just go, hey, Thomas, want to sleep in here? And Thomas just go, nah, I'm good. You know? Thomas crashes and the Fat Bueno replaces Thomas being in charge with Stanley.
I'll be back. I'll be in charge again.
I think you are still in charge, but someone needs to do your jobs, and... How does Edward not hear this and console him? Except no, he's been fully replaced. Thomas shunts an extra long line of trucks for Stanley, so Stanley crashes so he can be back in charge. He loses control of the trucks and they crash into the tower, which collapses quicker than Cranky in Season 5. They blame Thomas, obviously, for shunting such a long line, which I feel like is something that the hit era really didn't do that much, to be honest. Kind of unique. He finds a long line of trucks and wants them to get out of the way so engines will like him. He does, but one of the trucks rockets down the bajillionth old abandoned mine on Sodor. Like, seriously, like every Thomas episode either has a big dinner party in the hit era or an old abandoned mine. I don't know what hit Irv's obsession was. Maybe they just found it kind of sexy. Thomas follows the truck to a set of points. He obviously goes the wrong way because he's Thomas, but crashes into some water. A search party is engaged for Thomas and a musical number and shoes.
Thomas is having a whale of a time. He's trapped inside a disused mine.
You only did that because you couldn't think of anything to rhyme with mine, but it still doesn't rhyme. Stanley puffs away and finds Thomas after he gets out of the mine. He apologizes to Stanley and he forgives him because it's a Thomas film. You know, Stanley's a pretty strong boy to lift a 52-ton E2 class tank engine as a Huswell Clark kits the number 5459 Austin 1 hybrid. Like, E2s in real life, they're huge. Like, they're like almost as long as a Doncaster 81, and those things are huge. Right? And this little bastard's tugging him out successfully. Stanley's safety valve cracks because every person's safety valve has to break at some point in a Thomas film.
You've burst your safety valve, said the driver.
So Thomas pushes him back to Great Waterton. Everyone celebrates that Thomas is back.
Thomas is home. He's back forever.
You might want to reconsider that, Sharon. Now everyone is happy and Great Waterton opens due to the mayor cutting the rope. Apparently, the only black guy I've seen these films besides in Bubba, but that doesn't count as a film, because you know it's bad. The theme for the series plays, and there's one last song. And I'm not gonna lie, if you listen to this, it is a fucking vibe.
It's Thomas. You're the leader. Come on. Okay.
Overall, this film is totally epic, and people don't appreciate it as much as films like Adventure Begins, even though it is a remake with a budget, or Sora's Legend of the Lost Treasure. I'm not saying that's on the deity level of those films, because it's not. Those just came from our holy Lord Jesus Christ. Yet it isn't the shit well shit we've come to expect from the Miller era, Hit era, and that movie. Please watch it. If you don't, I don't fucking know. Bye.